All right, this is course 3, pre-algebra. This is lesson 21, distributive property and order of operations. So write down the title of the lesson number, and the date, and we'll get started. Okay, first I'm just going to read to you, and then I'll tell you what to write down. These two formulas can be used to find the perimeter of a rectangle. So the perimeter, capital P, is equal to 2 times, and in parentheses, length plus width. Also, the same formula would be written differently, 2 times the length plus 2 times the width. So if we use the first formula, we add the length and the width together first to get 12 plus 8 is 20, and then we multiply by 2. 2 times 20 would be 40. The second formula, we can do it a little bit differently. We can take 2 and multiply it times the length, 2L, and then take 2, multiply times the width, 2 times 8 is 16, add it together and you get 40. So both formulas produce the same result. So write this down. 2 times the parentheses, length plus width, is the same thing as 2L plus 2W. These two formulas illustrate the distributive property. So the distributive property gives us a choice when dealing with expressions like this. So this is our expression, 2 times 12 plus 8. So one choice is we can add before we multiply. So we could add 12 and 8 together to get 20. 2 times 20 makes 40. The other choice is to multiply each addend before we add. So we could take 2, multiply that times 12, take 2, multiply it times 8, and then add that together. 2 times 12 is 24, plus 2 times 8 is 16. Add together and you still get 40. So this second choice is the one that illustrates distributive property. So write this down. This is the distributive property. A times B plus C is the same thing as A times B plus A times C. You can also do it when you have more than 2 terms. A times B plus C plus D is the same thing as A times the B plus A times the C plus A times the D. Then we can also do it this way. If you're subtracting, A times B minus C is the same thing as A times B minus A times C. So this is the distributive property. So in this book, we're going to use the distributive property in 2 ways. We're going to expand and we're going to factor. Expanding looks like this, so we want to write down what expanding is. We expand 2 times A plus B, and we would get 2 times the first term, 2A, plus 2 times B, the second term. We factor and go backwards from the distributive property. If we take 2A plus 2B, we can factor that. Factor means to divide, and we would get 2 times A plus B, and that way we're dividing. Factoring means to divide. And I'll show you some examples. So example number 1 says to expand this expression and then factor that expression. Expand means to multiply, so you should probably write that down. So expand means to multiply and factor means to divide. So we're going to expand this. That means I'm going to take the 3 and multiply it times the W and the M. So to expand, we distribute the 3. It's called distributing. So take 3 times W, take 3 times M, and add them together. Now you can't really add them together. You're just going to get the answer is this expression. You're just expanding it. Factor means to divide. So if I want to factor this, so write this down, AX plus AY, they both have an A in common, so I can factor the A out. That means I'm dividing the A out. So this is going to equal A on the outside of the parentheses times X plus Y on the inside. Factoring is the inverse operation of expanding, or the distributive property. All right, expanding here. So example 2, write it down. You want to expand, that means to multiply. Take the 3, this 3 times X plus 2. So you take the 3, you multiply it times the X, so you get 3X. And then you take the 3, multiply it times the 2, and you get 6. So this is an equivalent expression, and we've expanded. Factoring means to divide. So if you write this down, 6x plus 9, and we want to factor. So we see that 3 is a factor of both terms. So we remove the 3 by dividing a 3 from each term. So I'm going to divide a 3 from here. So 6x divided by 3 is 2x. Now notice whatever I divide by the 3, it goes in the front of the parentheses. So I divide the 6x by 3 and I get 2x. 9 divided by 3 gives me 3. And that 3 that I divided by goes in front. Okay, so that's that example. Okay, so the next topic in this lesson is order of operations, so write that down. So this is the order of operations, the way we do it. First, you want to do the parentheses, anything in parentheses. Then you do the exponents. And then you're going to multiply and divide from left to right. That's very important, to multiply and divide from left to right. And then you're going to add and subtract from left to right. So make sure that's in your notes. And let's look at some examples. Okay, so here we're going to simplify this expression. So write this expression down, the entire thing. Now the first thing we want to do, I'm just going to put it down there, is when you do parentheses, then you're going to do exponents, then you multiply and divide from left to right, and then you add and subtract from left to right. So this is PEMDAS. So first I look for any parentheses, and that's what I do first. So I'm going to do the parentheses, which is 15. The next thing I want to do is do the exponent. Here's an exponent, so I do 3 squared, which is 9. Now I'm going to bring everything else down. 20 minus 2 times 9 plus 15 divided by 5. The next thing I do is I'm going to multiply and divide from left to right. So that means I have to multiply that and divide that, and then I bring everything else down. 20 minus 18 plus 13. Now I'm going to add and subtract from left to right. So it doesn't matter that the subtraction is first. All I have left is adding and subtracting, so I go left to right. So I'll do that. 20 minus 18 is 2, and 2 plus 13 is 15. So my answer is 15. Let's look at another example. Okay, it says to simplify expressions with multiple grouping symbols. Grouping symbols mean brackets and braces. Like you see, you have multiple grouping symbols here. We begin with the innermost symbols, so you want to write that down. If you have multiple grouping symbols, begin with the innermost symbols. So let's go here. Remember that I have this, parentheses, exponents, multiply and divide left to right, add and subtract left to right. All right, I start with the parentheses. If I have multiple parentheses, I do the innermost first. So the innermost would be that one. 5 minus 3 makes 2. Then I do the second innermost, 6 minus 2 makes 4. And then I have another set, which is 8 minus 4, which is 4. So all of this parentheses here just means 4. Then I take my 10, subtract the 4, and I get 6. And I never had to really do anything else other than that. So remember, innermost parentheses first. Okay, you also need to know that absolute value symbols, division bars, and radicals will sometimes group multiple terms as well. So you always want to work on the innermost of these grouping symbols as well. So here I have the absolute value, so write these down, example 5. For A, I have the absolute value of 2 minus 7. So I have to do the 2 minus 7. I have to do whatever's inside first. So I'd get the absolute value of a negative 5, because 2 minus 7 is negative 5. And then take the absolute value of that, and you get 5. For B, I have to add first. So I'm going to add 9 plus 16 first to get 25, and then I take the absolute value. So you must do whatever's inside the radical first. So the square root of 25 is 5. Remember, this symbol right here is called the radical symbol. Okay, and then the last one, I have a fraction bar. That's called a fraction bar. So I have to do whatever's on top first, then whatever's on bottom, and then I divide them out. So on this one I do 12 times 12 first, which is 144. 3 plus 3 is 6. And now I divide. So divide after you do the operations. So 144 divided by 6 goes in 2 times 6 is 12, and then 24. So I'd get 24 as my answer. Okay, here's the last example, example 6. So write this down. Write down this expression, lots of 3's. As written, this expression equals what number? So as written, we have to do order of operations. So there's no parentheses, there's no exponents. So I'm going to rewrite it down here so I have it. So the first thing that I would do is I would multiply and divide from left to right. So that would equal a 9, and that would equal 1. So 3 plus 9 minus 1, 12 minus 1, and I would get 11. It says copy the expression and place one pair of parentheses so that the expression equals 3, because right now it equals 11. Alright, so it says copy the expression, place one pair of parentheses so that the expression equals 3. And I think if I put the parentheses right here, then I might get 3. So let's try it. So first I do the parentheses and I get 0. Then I have to multiply and divide from left to right. So let's copy this down. Now multiply. 3 times 0 is 0. 0 divided by 3 is 0. So 3 plus 0 is equal to 3. And it wanted me to equal 3, so that's the correct answer. All right, I think that's it for today. Have a great one. Hope you've gotten everything written down.